Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. How are you, students? I hope that all of you are doing fine and staying safe. In our today's lecture, we are going to look into the concept of cloud computing. What does the term mean? What are different examples or areas of cloud computing? The implication and benefit that the cloud computing brings to the programmers and the individual end users of the internet. Now, cloud computing provides us the sources that we as individual cannot afford. Imagine that I want to run a complex computing problem which requires a lot of processing power. As an individual, I cannot have that. And if I buy the high performance heavy duty computing equipment, that is actually going to cost me a lot of money that I cannot afford. What I can do is I can buy a cloud's processing power for a limited amount of time and fulfill my needs. Cloud computing also lets you access databases and your personal data from anywhere in the world. You might have used the Dropbox or the Google Drive or OneDrive or other cloud storages like that. Once your file is on them, you just need an internet connection, and from anywhere in the world, you can access your data. Your maintenance, your physical hardware purchasing requirements, or maintaining the hardware and power cost, and everything is reduced to just one internet connection. The service which is actually providing you the cloud storage is responsible for all that. If we define the cloud, actually it actually refers to the network or internet. A network of computer working together can be referred to as a cloud. Also, the cloud is usually not present on site. It may exist on some remote location, somewhere far away from its user, and the users actually access that cloud, that cluster of computers through internet. A cloud can be accessed through the local area network or the wide area network or even a virtual private network. If you're running a private cloud, you might access that through a VPN so the other people don't have access to your own private cloud. There are a lot of applications that actually works on the cloud. Since this pandemic has started, web conferencing has become uh, quite common. Many software that you people might have used in the recent months are example of the cloud computing. For example, Zoom is actually a cloud meeting software which enables you to hold large virtual gatherings through an internet connection. What is cloud computing? Actually, cloud computing just mean to manipulate or configure or access your applications and your data online. You don't actually have to carry the heavy softwares or the large data files in your mobile device or your laptop. You can just use a cloud service, and that cloud service will provide you with all those resources, and then you can access those resources online. You can get online data storage, infrastructure and application. We are going to look into that in the coming slide in details. Now, cloud computing can provide you facilities of both software and hardware. Just my initial example when I started the lecture, the processing power requirement is actually the hardware requirement. The ability to gain access to a complex software can be a software requirement, and the cloud can actually provide you with both of these kind of services. This can be a diagrammatic representation of a cloud where all the end users using different devices, maybe computer or their tablet or their cell phone, are actually having access to the cloud, and using the internet connection they can use the services of the cloud. Cloud's infrastructure and storage and applications all are available for use through internet connection to these users. Again, whenever I use the term cloud, I just mean a network or cluster of computers having the capabilities that the other users can access and get benefit from. So basically, there are services and there are models which an end user might want to use time to time but cannot afford or make. So cloud actually helps us to access those things. Whenever we are thinking about the cloud, we need to learn about the cloud in two ways. One is the deployment model and the other is the service model. Deployment models actually would deal whether the cloud is private or public or hybrid or community cloud. And the service model is going to discuss whether the cloud is actually giving you the software facilities or it is giving you the infrastructure facilities. So these two are the ways that we need to understand the cloud through. First, we are going to look into the deployment models. The four deployment model that the cloud can work in is public, private, hybrid, and community clouds. In our book, only the public and private models are directly mentioned. So we are going to focus more on only these two types. The cluster of computers, which is actually available for public access, anyone can use those, can be considered as a public cloud. A private cloud would be a cluster of computers or the computing resources that can only be used within an organization. A bank may be using an ERP software or a database, but only the employees of the bank can access that. No one can outside the bank can access. So they are actually accessing a private cloud. But we can like Google App Engine or Google Drive or things like that are accessed throughout the world by anyone who is having a Gmail ID. So that might be considered a public cloud because it is accessible for the general public. And private cloud is actually only accessible for a specific number of people, only for an organization itself. The community cloud is where a group of organizations interact. For example, all the banks are interacting through an international payment gateway, and the hybrid cloud is actually a mixture of public and private cloud where some activities are actually only accessible within the organization like private cloud, and the rest of the cloud activities are accessible for the general public as well. Then we have to think about the service model. What facilities that cloud can provide us. Now, the service model actually, first of all, categorized into three ways like infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. Remember, when we are talking about infrastructure as a service, we are again going to refer back to the first example of computing power that I described. If I want more processing power and more memory, I can actually buy that processing power for a limited amount of time and as much processing power that I need through infrastructure as a service or IaaS cloud services. These are scalable, means I can buy as much power as I want. If I need to uh, do some mathematical problem which requires 100 gigahertz of computing power, I can actually get that power, and if somebody else want a little less or a little more computing power and resources, they can get that much computing power. So it's scalable according to the requirement. Then those physical machines can also be configured to behave like virtual machines and virtual storage. At this point, uh, the virtual storage is something that only appears to be there, but physically it's not. One example is that your hard drive is only one, but it appears through different partitions in your computer like C, D, E. Those are actually virtual representations. Physically, you have only one partition. So when you're buying this infrastructure service, you're actually billed based on a usage. Then usually it's a multi-tenant virtualized environment. Now, this concept may be a little uh, new to you, but it's not actually difficult. A multi-tenant virtualized environment just means that I have a processing power so much that one person cannot actually use that. So I am allocating my processing power to my 10 different clients. I am running an infrastructure as a service cloud, and I'm providing the processor and memory resources, physical resources to my clients, but I have so much processing power that one client can't use that. What I do, I sell that processing power to multiple people. That's actually multi tenant. Many people are actually getting that service from me. It's virtualized because each of them is thinking that they have their own processors, they have their own physical devices, but actually the physical devices are the same, which are shared between them. So that's the term virtualized mean here. This infrastructure as a service can be coupled with the operating system and the application support as well. Some IaaS examples are here. You can pause this slide and you can look these services up on the internet, do a little search, and see how these companies actually provide infrastructure as a service cloud. Then we have platform as a service. Now, a platform as a service is actually a service where you as a developer can go and build the application, can run the application, deploy the applications. You might not have the resources to develop softwares on your microcomputer, your simple computer. You can go on to a PaaS or platform as a service cloud, and then you can use their resources to develop your applications, your softwares. It provides all the facilities required to support a complete life cycle of building and delivering web application and services entirely from the internet. You might have used the websites like Weebly or Tumblr. They actually lets you develop the website completely off the internet. You don't have to do any offline thing or coding on those websites. Up to a certain scale, you can do all everything online. Your website is ready, and then you publish it from those resources. So that would be an example of the platform as a service. They are providing you a platform where you can develop your own software. And if your software takes a lot of resources to develop, you're going to use their resources, not your own computer. And again, when you are actually developing applications, they are developed for a certain platform. For example, you're developing application for Android, or you're developing application for iOS, or you're developing application for Windows platform. So that's what it means. You have to know which platform you are developing your application software. This is also a multi-tenant environment, means there are multiple people using the PaaS facilities at the same time, and it is highly scalable multi-tier architecture. There may be some levels of services that the users are subscribing to. That's what multi-tier means. And they're highly scalable, means each user can actually get the services according to their own requirement. They don't have to subscribe to the packages which are fixed, so they waste away the package. They can actually get the package completely scalable to their requirements. So the Amazon Web Services are one of the examples of, again, the platform as a service of cloud. You can search these Amazon and Microsoft examples, and I do recommend that you search about it, because building a good knowledge base is very much important here to understand this topic. So, platform as a service allows you to develop a complete application using the cloud's resources. Lastly, we have the software as a service. Now, this actually allows you to use software application as a service to end user. There might be software that you require to use, but you yourself can't afford that, or don't need to actually pay for them. So, SaaS, or software as a delivery service, is actually a software delivery methodology that provides licensed multi-tenant access to software and its function remotely as a web-based service. Means you are accessing the software through the internet from your home. Obviously, it is also built based on the usage, and this is also a multi-tenant environment. Means there are multiple people who are uh, accessing the software. It's a highly scalable architecture, means it actually is based on, again, the requirement. You can buy as much services as you require. And here are some of the examples of the software as a service, or SaaS cloud computing environment. So that's about it. These are the different examples of cloud services which you might like to look into, and I would encourage that you would go and research about these and categorize them. In which category do they fall? whether they are infrastructure as a service, whether they are software as a service, or whether they are platform as a service. Do that activity to further clarify your understanding about the different um, service models of the cloud. Then, lastly, we are going to discuss about the advantages. As I told you in the beginning, the first benefit of using the cloud that it liberates you of managing your own infrastructure or software environment. Imagine that having to buy the large computers yourself to get you the storage and the computing power and the memory that you require. That's actually going to cost you a lot, and you might don't need to use those resources forever. Maybe your need is temporary. Otherwise, you are actually fine with your normal average computer that you are using. So, the cloud would actually lower the cost. You just have to pay the subscriptions, which are going to be a lot less than the cost of new hardware. Then, the services of cloud are usually highly reliable because there are tech giants like Google and Amazon and Facebook, which are actually managing the infrastructure of the cloud, and they have backups upon backups and different virtualized server that if one goes down, then the other server can take its place, and the user still gets the uh, seamless service. In the disadvantages, it actually requires constant internet connectivity. If you go offline, you are unable to access your cloud. And that might be the greatest disadvantage because when you move from location to location, there might not be the internet connectivity that you are looking for. Then there can be some limitation on the feature. And the biggest problem with the cloud, in my opinion, that there can be is your data stored in the cloud is not fully secure. The organization that you are uh, using to provide the cloud service to you, that organization have access to that cloud data. So that actually raise the question of privacy and security. Although they would promise you a level of privacy and security, but still, whenever you are posting your data on a cloud, do remember that they have access to your data now, and there is very little you can do to protect your data security and privacy. The cloud storage services like the Google Drive or SkyDrive or the Dropbox actually allows you to store your data online. Mostly on these services, you just need to create an account, and then up to a certain level you are using the services free, and then if you want more of that you need to actually pay. Since the cloud storage have been referred to a lot in the lecture, it's best to describe that a little as well. You can actually have the apps. For example, if you're using the Dropbox, you can use the Dropbox app to save your files in your cloud, and the Dropbox app or the Google Drive app will let you access those files from anywhere in the world using the internet connection. You can see that little icon using the Google Drive app. You can actually have a folder in your computer which is backed up, which is also stored on your Google Drive, and whatever you put the inside that folder is also stored online. So uh, using uh, a cloud-based app service actually minimizes your hassle of handling your data. And that's about it for the cloud services. Do go through the content and material provided in your book and this video. And if you have any questions, we'll take them now. Thank you.